Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're all doing really well out there today. In this video, we're going to take a look at a note-taking app called Alexandrie. I think that's how it's pronounced, but the developer is French, so I could be screwing that up. If I am, I apologize. Though throughout this video, you're going to hear me call it Alexandrie, just because that's how we as an American, or I as an American, would pronounce it based on the spelling. So we're going to take a look at my instance that I have set up. We're going to talk a little bit about the application, different things about the application, within the application, whatever. And then we'll take a look at how to get Alexandrie set up. And through this whole process, we're going to talk about some of my thoughts about different aspects of the app and the installation process. So if that sounds interesting to you, let's jump right in. But before we jump into taking a look at Alexandrie and the installation of Alexandrie, a couple of quick things. One, I am not the developer. So if you run into technical issues or have technical questions about different aspects of the application, whether it's functionality or installation, I'm not the developer, so I will be less likely to help you or be able to help you than the developer will. So definitely go over to the GitHub repository to create an issue or ask questions over there. The developer, again, will be more likely to be able to help you with this than I will. Also, this application uses Docker. So if you're not into Docker, that's cool, no big deal. There are other tutorials or pieces of content you can check out, but this application does use Docker pretty natively, it seems. So again, if Docker's not your thing, no big deal. Go check out some other amazing content here on the platform. So jumping in, this is Alexandrie. In fact, this is the homepage of Alexandrie when you go to the URL that you have set up in your Docker Compose to deploy Alexandrie. This is what you get, and it's fine. It's basically a quick overview of Alexandrie and some functionality and some features and all of this kind of stuff. My complaint about this is that I've already installed the app. This is a running application that I've already added notes to and that sort of thing. So having an advertisement for the app as the homepage of the app seems redundant, in my opinion. If we click on Get Started, it will then ask me to go to a login page by default. I'm already logged in a different tab, so it brought me here. Though in this tab, I toggled the dark mode. So, whatever. I guess let's come back over here. And we're going to toggle dark mode. I feel okay doing dark mode here because it's not super, super dark. And I know a lot of people have an issue when dark mode is too dark in my videos. So I'm actually pretty happy with this dark mode being not midnight, but like dusk, comparatively to what we've seen with other dark mode things, right? So top left, of course, we've got our standard navigation, all that sort of thing with some search under here. We can toggle this. So if we want our workspace to be more focused, we can do that. And then over here to the left, there is other stuff. So our homepage, categories, documents, folders. I guess this is CDN. This is where you can upload pictures and that sort of thing. And then there's an import feature here. Now, some of these features are turned off by default, but with a toggle in the settings, you can easily go in and turn them on. We'll take a look at that when we get there. But I wanted to show this kind of stuff just real quick down this left column. And again, there's the settings. We'll get into settings in a little bit. And if you want to, you can turn that off. And I've got no idea how to undo that now. That's fun. I don't. It's probably in settings. So luckily, we can get to settings from here as well. So let's go back to our homepage. Alexandrie dashboard, and here we can see the different things that I have. Again, this is more of the same, I guess, with search. There's a lot of redundancy going on here, and I don't know if that is on purpose or just to fill blank space. I don't know what the thought process was there. Because down here we get home, categories, CDN, and settings. We get, kind of a lot of that over here as well. And then the documents that we have written are over here, but they're also over here. So it is what it is, right? So we've got different workspaces that we can create. This also lets us know that we can create other users and share documents and workspaces and all of that stuff between users if we want to do that. Or we can make it public, or we can make documents public, I believe. We'll take a look at that. So new workspace, edit workspace, all of that is under Workspaces here. We kind of took a look at these already. Here's a picture of my cat from like 12 years ago. This is the day that he found us. He just showed up on our porch. His name is Cloud. Under here, we've got different, I've made different folders, different categories to put things in for the sake of demonstration here. So I created a how-to, and then here is, how to write a story. And this is what your documents will look like when they're not in edit mode. And you can scroll through, and it's all done in Markdown. So you can click edit, and here's your Markdown. Pretty standard stuff if you're into Markdown, or you can use the WYSIWYG stuff across the top to have it generate the Markdown for you as you go. If I wanted to say, oops, here's some bold text. We can like highlight that, and then in theory click bold, and now we have bold text. Also, if you want, again, we can shrink that over to the side, and we can say, hey, let's get a real live, in real time thing here. Test text, it pops up in real time, so you can write your stuff in Markdown and see what it's going to look like over here. And I dig that. Or we can turn that off. Those are our options. Again, we can click the save icon here, or we can do Control S, either of those. I'm actually glad that shortcut is there. So that's, and then of course, if we want to, we can categorize things by selecting, it's in how to. We can also go to pictures, we can move it around. Or we can drag and drop, move things around that way as well. So love that functionality. Just some random lorem ipsum text there. We can download the Markdown. We can print if we want to. Settings for this, there's some stuff in there, so we can change the color of the icon. I believe that's what that's for. Maybe not. I thought that's what that would be for, but I'm not entirely sure all of a sudden. Color, it just I don't know what that's for. I would think that it would change the icon color over there, but it doesn't, so I'm not sure. Here we can share, again, private or published. We can either give somebody that URL, and they can either be a viewer or an editor, or if we want to make it private, we can share with other users who may be on our server. So pretty standard stuff. We've seen a lot of this functionality in other note-taking apps that we've looked at over the past few years. Again, this is another category for pictures, how to, and then of course, there's my cat, and here's how to write a story. As you scroll, you get your navigation over here on the right side. Very, very standard stuff here. So not really a lot to talk about, but a few things. So if we come up to here, to the search in the top left, and we say short, it doesn't search, because right here, we've got short in our text for this document. If we search short, it doesn't bring anything up. This appears to only search for titles of things, not necessarily text within the documents. So that's something to keep in mind. If I say write, there it in real time filtered out everything that didn't have the word write in it. So that's something to keep in mind for this search function over here. Let's delete that. Let's come over to this search over here. We can do a quick search or an advanced search. And if I type in short here, again, that text is in our document, but it's not in the title, so it's not showing up. If we do advanced search, we've got tags, we've got categories. Nothing in here appears to let me search. Let's try short. And again, nothing there. Nothing in there searches the text within the document. I don't necessarily like that. I think that should definitely be something that the search can do, is search within the documents. That said, this is in beta, so at least this version of the searching is in beta, as it shows right here. So just something to keep in mind there. The other thing is that you've got these tags, and I'm trying to click them, and they're not clickable here or here. So the tags, while they're good for searching. If you've got multiple things that are tagged with tutorial, you can search for that tag, but you can't click that tag to get to that category of, or basically that category of content. So I feel like there's a couple of things missing that could be added here with being able to click and being able to search to find content that is similar or content that is within a document. Couple of shortcomings in my opinion. So there's that, right? I wanted to touch on those things because when I tried to click on tutorial to maybe find other things that might have tutorial in them, it doesn't take me anywhere. These aren't clickable. So I guess that's kind of it as far as the functionality of this is concerned. But let's go ahead and jump into the settings right over here. So we can see, my account information. I can fill all of this in. I recreated this setup this morning because of something I was trying to do, and I thought maybe the pre-existing setup had made it impossible to do the things I wanted to do. So I created a new setup, and that's why this is in here as of this morning. So this is profile. We've got preferences, dark mode or light mode. You can toggle that on and off. You can choose your primary color, whatever you want that to be. I like the blue there. You can enable print mode. You can hide the table of contents, which you would see over here on the right-hand side of the page. Enable document autosave. That's probably a good idea. Document size, you can change small, medium, large. Your theme, there's a few different themes in here that you can choose from. Compact side mode, view doc. We turned that off a second ago. Just popped that back in there. I figured it was in there somewhere. Normalize file icons. Not entirely sure what that does, but it's there. Display uncategorized resources. Spelling error then, but again, translating from French, his translation of French to English is way better than my translation of English to anything else ever will be. So just an observation, not a criticism. Hide resources here. You can do that if you want. Not sure what that does. You can decide what things you want to show in the sidebar. You can just kind of toggle all of that on there if you want. We can see this over here. Add those things automatically. The nav bar, what do you want to show in the nav bar? It's all there. Editor, you can change the font in the editor, the font size, the data table, developer mode, and of course you can reset your preferences in the advanced page like it says right there. For security, which is our next tab here, we can see this information. Luckily, there's nothing here that matters that you can't see, so that's fine. We can change our password. We can log out or log out from all devices, or we can delete our account. The one thing that I am seeing here, or that I'm not seeing here rather, is any kind of two-factor authentication. But it's at its current point, I don't think it's necessary, and we'll come back to why here in a minute. We've got backups. We can create a backup, which will just be a backup.json file. That said, this appears to only then back up the text files, the Markdown files, and not the files like the pictures or whatever that you've uploaded, over to the CDN area. So that's something to keep in mind. You can manage your categories over there that brought us out of that pop-up window. Let's go back to settings there. Manage documents. Again, that's going to bring us back to here to where our documents are. Manage importations. So if you've got a backup from a previous installation, or you need to restore a backup for some reason, you can upload your JSON file from here. We've got shortcuts, we've got snippets. Let's go back to shortcuts, right? You can see all of the different shortcuts that are built in. I think that's cool. I like being able to do stuff on the keyboard without having to reach for the mouse regularly. So if I got familiar with these keyboard shortcuts, I would probably be way more efficient with Alexandrie. We've got snippets. These are kind of cool. So you can kind of see, we've got, exclamation point blue or center or green or whatever. And these are just quick little shortcuts to do different things. So like if we wanted to, let's come over to here, right? And we'll click edit, and then we're just going to do blue. This is blue. We can then do like a side-by-side thing, and hey, look, info, this is blue. But what we can also do is not blue, right? We can change the header there by putting it next to the color that we can see right there. So all of the different shortcuts that we saw, the snippets, those are all available here. And it looks like you can add your own snippets if you want to go that route, or you can export, restore defaults, whatever. Markdown, if you're not sure how to do Markdown, there's a great amount of information in here. I love this. I've only sort of kind of gotten into Markdown relatively recently, all things considered. So this is super helpful. I love having this here. Under advanced, reset preferences, delete local storage. Be careful with those things. About here, you can see which version that you're on. This is version 8.1.0-beta.1. So I'm not sure how they're handling their versioning, but I believe there are like 24 releases. So, you know, and then there's logout, right? So very, very standard stuff. But definitely some shortcomings that I saw with regards to like searching, to linking, tags, those sorts of things. I would love to see more of that. So let me know in the comments what you guys think about the overall usability of Alexandrie. And I guess the next thing we're going to do is take a look at the installation process using Docker. Also, just to quickly jump in here and interrupt everything, I recently launched merch to celebrate hitting 100,000 subscribers here on YouTube. In fact, this is one of my shirts. So if you want to check out what else I have on my merch store, check out the link in the video description. I've got a sale that started late last month and is running through November 5th, midnight Eastern time. So if you want to check out some merch, it's currently on sale. So go check that out. And let me know in the comments what you're going to pick up or what you picked up. If you do pick something up, post a picture of it online and tag me. That would be awesome. But let's get back to our content. So jumping over to the GitHub repository for Alexandrie from Smog6739, we can see that this is being actively updated as recently as like 2 days ago. If we take a look, you know, some of this has been in here for a year. So this has been actively worked on for an extended period of time, which I love seeing. And if we come over to here, we can see that the releases, there have been 25. Again, this one was 4 days ago. And if we come into here, of course, I clicked directly on the release rather than the releases. So we can see all of the stuff that's been changed and updated and that sort of thing, and when it was. And it looks like there was a big update not long ago, 2 weeks ago, for version 8. So it looks like a lot of the stuff that I've had complaints about or whatever are probably in the pipeline already, seeing how much has been added to this relatively recently. So again, the things that I'm mentioning throughout this video aren't necessarily meant to be derogatory or discouraging or any of those kinds of things. They're just my observations after having looked at a lot of different note-taking apps over the years. So we come over, we keep scrolling down on here. We're going to see more information about the app. In fact, we looked at this very briefly during the live stream this last Saturday, and I had to kind of look at it sideways. Like, I see what they were going for. It's just a little, had to cock my head over a little bit. So we got features, we've got interface preview. You know, you can share your notes and collaborate. And then we get into the quick start with Docker, right? And it says for local testing and development, you can use Docker to run the entire stack. You can start a demo server, local production. Just need to copy the Docker Compose file. We do Docker Compose up, then you can start a development server with hot reloading. You need to clone the repo for that to work, though. And then there's some information here about the access points for the front end, the backend API, object storage, and the MySQL database. So if we come back up, there's more down there, but you guys can scroll if you want to see more than that. I believe in you. If you come over here to like the Docker Compose file, right? It gives us more information as far as the application stack. Our first service is MySQL, and it's got, you know, some usernames and some passwords and those sorts of things. That's great. They changed the port, which I think is cool. Good for them on that. Normally these are, oops, I hate it when it does that. Normally both of these would be 3306, but you can see they changed it to 3307. They put it on a network, the Alexandrie network. Cool, dig it. Health check, making sure the database is up and working appropriately. Love that. Rust FS, this is kind of going to be your MinIO, and we can see all of the stuff that's going on there. Again, here we can see there is some French in here with some English as well. That's on port 9000. If you're running an older version of Portainer that still runs on port 9000, you'll need to change, again, just that first 9000 there to something else, but don't touch the colon or anything after it. Again, we've got a health check, love to see it. The backend is here. We've got the Alexandrie backend being pulled from GitHub container repository. We've got a container name, again, database host, all of the connecting information for this. Earlier, we saw that it was on 3307, but here it says 3306. And that's fine because they're on their own contained network where that port doesn't matter as much. Having the 3307 up here just prevents conflicts with other databases you may have running on the same servers. So it's perfectly okay that this down here is 3306 because it's on the same private network with the same Docker network, so it can connect on that other port. It's fine. Again, we've got our username, our passwords, all this kind of stuff. Allow unsecure is true. If you're going to put this on a domain, you'll need to set that to false. You got a JWT secret and a domain client and a cookie domain. And this is where things kind of fall off for me. But then we connect to our MinIO stuff. That was the Rust FS stuff that we saw earlier. There's an SMTP configuration. I tried this and it worked for me. I put in my Gmail host, my username, and my application password. And I didn't have to put in a port or anything else, and it connected. And I thought that was awesome. I don't know what he did behind the scenes, but it worked really well. So good job. Port configuration for the backend. Again, more stuff down here. We've got some dependencies, making sure that our database and our MinIO or our Rust FS, both of them are running in a healthy status. And then that will come up. And we've got a front end. That was for the backend. Then we've got the front end. Again, a lot more of the same stuff. We've got a base API, a base CDN, and a base URL with some ports. Depends on the backend being up. And again, we're putting all of this on this Alexandrie network. We're declaring the network here. And then we've got some some storage for the MySQL and the Rust FS applications. So all of that is here, good to go, right? And it was really easy to deploy it that way. That said, I did have to change, like the base API, like this local host had to be changed. We saw that in a couple of other places up here as well. All of those had to be changed to the IP address where I'm currently running this in order to get it to work. That said, no manner of reconfiguring all of these different clients and domains and all of this stuff in here that says localhost, I personally couldn't get it to work on a domain. I spent an hour and a half putting my domain in there, putting different things in here, changing things up, trying different things. And I could not for the life of me get this to work on a domain. And that's where earlier I mentioned that I ran into an issue where I thought something I'd already configured may have been causing an issue. So I just redeployed and that was it. It is, I'm not sure how to get this configured on a domain despite spending a fair amount of time trying to get it to work. Which is why I think that the two-factor authentication that I mentioned that isn't there may not matter. If you can't get it on a domain, it doesn't matter, or likely doesn't matter depending on your environment. Also, the other thing that I would really like to see from this, if we come back over, is I would like to see a lot of this moved over to like environment variables, like into like an env file, so that you can just put in your domain one time and it will auto-populate in all of the relevant areas. You know, if you're going to be on a domain, you don't need these ports, and kind of do something in there to make sure that you only have to enter your domain name in the appropriate places. If you've got, you know, the stuff for the database connections, you know, up here we've got our database name and user and password here in the back end, but we've also got it up here in the database container itself. Those should be environment variables. Change it once in that env file, and then it will just automatically populate in the appropriate areas here. I think there's some things that can be done to simplify the deployment of this by using an env file appropriately. Again, I'm not trying to be discouraging to the developer. I think there are things that can be done to make the deployment more user-friendly. That said, again, if we come over to here and we take a look at the deployment information for local testing and development, and this is the only information in here about deploying it, is for local testing and development. So maybe this whole thing is still technically in beta from the developer's perspective, and they don't want you to put it on a domain, but here they've got it showing up on a domain. So I don't know. And sorry, when I say that, wasn't showing this. Like in their screenshot here, we can see that this is on a domain. So there's something that I'm doing wrong, right? I acknowledge that. I just don't know what it is. I think maybe fleshing out the documentation a little bit more, or doing something with the Docker Compose and an env file to help simplify the deployment would be a huge help to potential users. But that said, I really dig the application. I think it looks good. It feels good to use. A few little tweaks here and there, but it seems like the developer's actively working on a bunch of stuff. Again, within just the last 2 hours, now that I'm actually looking at this again, if we take a look here, 2 hours ago. So who knows, maybe by the time I release this, those sorts of things will be fixed, or maybe they're already in the pipeline. So again, let me know in the comment section down below what your thoughts are on Alexandrie. Again, I'm not the developer, so if you've got technical questions or issues or whatever, definitely jump over to the GitHub repository and have a chat with the developer in a nice, professional, clearly stated fashion. Don't be a jerk. Please don't be a jerk. Also, if you dig the project, give it a star. It's currently at 746. We can see that right there. Would love to see that number go up as well. So let me know in the comment section what your thoughts are. I would love to hear from you there. With that said, I'm going to wrap this up. I want to thank you guys for spending a few minutes of your day with me here today. I'll talk to you in the next video.